Every game has its history, whether it's a good or bad start. From beginning to end, there will be good and bad times. Helmet Heroes has gone through a lot of kind of eras, I guess. I'm going to say era because it's the best description word for what I'm going to say. For those of you who don't know, an era is basically a time period. So to put it into context, from this point onward is update 9.06. That isn't necessarily the era name, but that's the time we're in. There are no real names to what these eras could be, but I'm going to personally name them. So, let's start this, shall we? For the first era, I would name it to be the beginning era, pretty much because it's where everything started, where the whole game came together. The game Helmet Heroes was first posted on Newsground and on Robbie's personal site, helmetgames.com, at around, I would say, I think March? I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not exactly the oldest player, but I have been around to see it all. Now, in this time, there were not many players. I believe the only real players who would play were a user called DNS, Robbie, Gret, and a few friends that Robbie had invited. So, in this era, there was the strongest monster. It was the red bouncers in the sandy parts of the map. I'll quickly go to the map. I believe it's around here. There would be a sign that would say you could not go any further because there are updates in the progress. Not many players were around this time. There were only a small amount, I would say around 50, I guess, because Newsground did have some players but didn't have many players. Over time, more and more players would join the game, and that then led the community to boom up more because of Newsground. This is where legendary players such as Cokenark or Kai would come into the picture because of Newsground or just stumbling across the game. Personally, someone told me about the game, so I wouldn't have stumbled across it. In that time, it wasn't when Newsground came out, but I joined around, I would say, July. I'm not entirely sure. I have a vague idea on when I joined, maybe September. Around that time, before that, I would say there was an era, I'm gonna name it the Carnelia Era. The reason why I name it the Carnelia Era, sorry, someone's talking to me in game. I'll just quickly open that so you can see. The reason why I've named it the Carnelia Era is because during this time period, many OG players known as Master Yi, even Cokenark, 404, all these legendary people, they abused a glitch known as the Carnelia glitch. Now you might be wondering, why was there a Carnelia glitch? What do you mean, Mario? Basically, around when Carnelia came out, there was a bug where if you could just attack Carnelia over and over and over without killing it, and then once that's done, you could kill it and get literally 1 million XP or more. So they would usually do it for about 10 minutes straight, with pets and without pets, and they would level up their pets to insane levels. A short period before that, I'm going to name the Jerek Era. Now, I might have got everything wrong, not wrong, but I might have muddled up the order that this would go in. But in the description, I will put a timeline and a brief description of what these time periods would be like. So the Jerek Era was around the time when bricks were the strongest monster. There was yet again another game-breaking bug that Jerek himself, the legendary player, had found out, whereas other players also found it out and abused this glitch. Around the top 20 players of that time period would usually just abuse the glitch. This is known as the private server glitch. Now you might be wondering, Mario, private server glitch? There's private servers, what do you mean? Well, there used to be a bug where if you had a second account, you'd log on twice in the same IP, and once you've logged on that IP, you would be able to somewhat get into a private server. Now I won't fully tell how to do it, because I don't personally remember it all myself. But it's something that lots of players used to get many levels. So for an example, Jerek was around level 400 at that time, and he was the highest leveling player, and he would do that by pretty much allowing the spawn rate to get all the bricks to spawn, and then overall one-hitting them. But that was soon not fixed, but Robbie later on, I guess a few months later, made the private server option, so there would be no need for it. I believe it's patched now anyway. Then the next time period, I'm gonna say, would maybe have to be around the Darkane Era. Now, I call it Darkane Era because it's when the Darkane armor came out, and it was when lots of things were new, and the game was revamped to be around, like, not 3D. I don't think 3D at this point, but there were thoughts of Robbie changing the game into the 3D look as it has now. This era doesn't have any real significant features about it, but I guess I'm listing it because it's around maybe a few months after I started YouTube. Now, on to the Phantom Era. The Phantom Era is the Phantom Armor, and that was around the time period of the massive duping bugs. Now, I should really rename this Duping Era number 1, because there have been more than one duping issues happen in the game. I'm not going to tell the users, I'm not going to tell how people would dupe, but it involved having congregate and then somewhat duplicating items in your ATM. The reason why this was such a huge issue is because congregate players would level up at insane levels. Like, people would be able to get to level around, not level I mean, but they would get insane stats. The main, I guess, dictator of who was doing it was Zeused5. Zeused5 is now banned, and so is his old, I guess, colleague, APG, also known as A Pathetic Gamer. These two users were in different duping eras, but they were friends in a form. Basically, Zeused5 would dupe billions, spend it on stats, make OP pets, and then he would Charizard, Super Trooper's old pet. That pet was completely duped. The books and everything, all the stats were mainly duped. Super Trooper didn't know this, but now Super Trooper, obviously got rid of the pet, I believe, and he made another OP pet, I believe. So it then began that Zeus would give me and other players a bunch of money, not to keep quiet, because we wouldn't know that he would be duping. But I didn't get a lot of money. He only gave me, say, a skullbone gun. I know it's, quite a lot, but in the time when I was playing, that was, meh. Sorry about that. And as well as that, he ruined the game's economy, and he basically caused tons of players to become rich and OP. Now, I know I already spoke about Jarsu, but Jarsu was one of the players who pretty much benefited the most, because he bought thousands of tickets. I mean, well, he claims to, but he claims to buy thousands of tickets, and when he did buy those tickets, it was around the time where there would be tons and tons of tickets being sold because of the duplication. So basically, tickets would be resold at around 150k, somewhere along that lines. Because of this mishap, there would usually be many other players who would also not abuse the Mushroom Trading District, but they pretty much bought tickets as well as duped. An alternate account they used during the Duping Era was Lord Ducky 15. This is one of the only accounts that I believe was not banned, but it's known by many of the Congregate players. This account was used to duplicate many items for some of the most oldest players, or not oldest, but some of the most legendary players who I'm not going to disclose because it's over. It was about a few months ago.